Welcome to this video on how to create what is needed in order to send a newsletter on the Norwegian portal. First off, I based this video on this premise that you do not have anything. You may have everything or you may have something. Just jump around in the video and add the needed features in order to complete the entire process. We'll just start off by creating a newsletter folder because we want to contain all this content within one feature. It doesn't matter where this folder is, but I recommend putting it under Norway and Afghanistan. We'll start by just creating a new page, and we will create a section page. So we just have to find it down in the list here somewhere. There we go. And we will call it newsletter. You can call it whatever you want, just as it's recognizable. This folder will just contain everything that we need. You can create a subfolder with your newsletters. You can create a subfolder with the features that we're going to create right now. It doesn't matter, just as long as you understand it. The next thing up is I'm going to create a new confirmation email page. This is a new page. You do not have it, so you have to create it. It's all the way in the bottom. It's called newsletter confirm email page. I'm going to push that. This page has a lot of features. I'm going to come back to that in a separate video. You just leave it at this right now, because if you try to push publish, it's going to demand a lot of stuff for you, and we'll show that one later. Next up is I'm going to create the unsubscribe page. It's also in the bottom. Newsletter unsubscribe page. This also has a lot of features, and one of them being the newsletter list. We're just going to set the newsletter list right now. Find your country or your location if you're a delegation, and select the recipient list. This is the list that people will unsubscribe from. As the same as for the confirmation newsletter email page, you have to add a list that they're going to be added to. For now, press publish. Next up is that we're going to go back to the front page, and we are going to create the new block. Some of you have this block already. It's called the newsletter subscription block, and it looks like this. Usually we just copy the text because it doesn't need a name. Once again, add your name to the list or find the location. Most of you should have a location here or a list. If you do not have one, please send an email to web desk. Enable email verification, and then drag your confirm email page into the confirm subscription page area. Add a title, a short ingress. Let's just grab something that we have here from earlier. There we go, and add some thank you notes. Just going to create it. Since we're on the front page, when we create this, it will just add to the location, and it will be added under for this page. As you can see, I already had one from before. I'm going to click publish. Now let's get back to the other pages. We start by filling out the confirm email page. Confirm email page is the page that sends the email to the person who wants to be added to our list. The first field, the content field, does not need any information. You can add, if you want, a thank you note. the person will see this message when he confirms his email. He will be directed to this front page. So you can add information to this. The receiving user or the confirming user will see this page once. The field you need to concentrate on is the one called email. This entire field has to be filled out except for email paragraph 2. I've created some setups for you, and I've translated all the features or the text that you need to have in this, but there is one text in particular that you need, and that is the one that regards to the mandatory text from the government. It's very easy text. You can copy paste it in. It looks like this, and it has to do with GDPR. I don't want to go into GDPR, but let's just say it's a law that I'm required to follow, and which means you are required to follow it. So this text has to be unanimous with anything else or everyone else. I've translated it into all our 15 languages, so I will just create one of each for everyone, so you can copy and paste it down to your system. What we have to do is we have to fill out email subject. The from address is always there, but as you can see, I'm using some test place, so the address is a little bit different. The logo title and the logo subtitle is the same as for your front page. So go back to your front page and copy Norway and your location and the Royal Norwegian Embassy. They go both into these fields. The email header is the title of your email, and the next content is the mail itself. Below that you can add some local information if you want, but I would prefer if you did not. It's important that these emails to start up with are unison and look the same. Email intro button is just something that we can use for future reference, but do not use it now, and just leave it blank. The email button text is the text that the button has for the user to push. So this one is also translated, so we can just add that to everything else. So when we're done, we can add the logo title, we can add the text, we can add the email header, and what's missing? Email subject. Let's just add that one as well. As you can see, all the error messages are gone. If you notice them to begin with, we can publish, and this field, as you can see, has no content because it has no principal on it. I would also like you to remove the display in navigation. It has no purpose on showing this in navigation in any way, so just remove that and do the same for the unsubscribe page. Nobody needs to see these features. The content of the unsubscribe page has no form. You can add whatever you want to it, but remember, it's what the user sees when he leaves you. So you can add some text here and tell them sorry to see you go, please stay, whatever you want. I see no reason to do it, but if you want, you can do that yourself. The only thing you have to do here is to add your newsletter list. That's the only important thing here. When you've done that, you can just remove it from navigation, as I said before, and click publish, and you're done. Now let's create a newsletter. I've already done so, and the newsletter on page view is like this. Just start off with the title, the name, and the ingress. Everything will be shown later. You can drag and drop articles into this featured area, and there's one error here, or not an error, but a feature that you probably won't understand before I tell it to you. It says the news page cannot be displayed. This is just a presentation fault. It can be displayed and it will be displayed, but not until you update the page by clicking publish. This will happen to every article you drag into it, no matter how many. The system will update when you are done with it. So I always recommend working with newsletter features or newsletter set, the newsletter, in all properties mode. So let's just remove all these articles and go back to all properties mode. Everything seems so much easier here. First of all, we have to add the unsubscribe page. As you can see, I've got an error message says unsubscribe page must be set. Since we did that earlier, we can just drag and drop that unsubscribe page right in there. Beneath you have email subject, which is the subject of your email, usually newsletter for month, blah, blah, blah. Beneath that you have the logo, which again is the logo title and subtext for your mission, Norway in Afghanistan, in my case, Royal Norwegian Embassy in Kabul. Beneath that you can add a small ingress. You cannot add bold text, you cannot add links, you cannot add anything to it. You can just do a small introduction text with it. The point is that your articles will speak for themselves. So you can drag the articles in below the introduction text. Let's just drag a couple of them in. As you can see, they just present as normal blocks. Beneath that, you have the social media area, and you should have your social media location under your to world and your country and social media location. So you can just drag and drop your fields in there. See, there we go. Depending on how many you have, you can drag them all if you want. You can drag one or two. Under that, you can have a title for your contact information. The contact information is beneath here, and the link list is here. It's a little bit confusing, but I'm going to move it down soon enough. This is the title for the contact information, and the contact information is block based, which maybe it shouldn't be, but it is. So that's the way it is. You should just add the blocks that you have. Let's see if I have some here. Contact information, drag it in, holiday content if necessary. I would recommend just creating your own folder here and maybe add your contact information to a separate setup of blocks, because maybe you want it to present a little bit better, maybe a little bit different. Whatever you want, it's up to you to do it. You can add a title, contact, and a title link list. The last part is the link list. You can create links to other sections in your site, to relevant web pages that you refer to in your newsletter. You can add whatever you want, just as long as it's a link. You create a link by just clicking on it, calling it link 1, adding a title if you want, external link, email, or whatever you want it to be. I'll just add something. So I filled in most of the information, ingress and logo title and logo subtext. The point of this is just to show you what it works like. Email subject. Right now there is a fault with this as I'm presenting it to you. So when I click publish now, the title will be newsletter, as you can see, but when you use it, it will be Norway and Afghanistan. So this is it. You can see the images won't present as well. That's because I'm doing this on a test page. And you can add your holidays, you can add your social media, you have the link list, you have your articles and the dates, and you're done. What you've done now is just create a basic newsletter. You can use this as your base for the next one. So let's say you call this August newsletter. You can just copy and paste. And when you do so, you get a new name. So then you can maybe call this September. You just add change a little bit to the ingress. You can change to the different articles you want, and the contact information doesn't change. Maybe you want to add or remove some links, and that's it. And then you press publish, and you add it to your send list. Just remember, you do not send it when you press publish. It's just available to the public, and the next part is where you send it. Now we created the newsletter. Now we're going to send it. So you go back to your newsletter, wherever you put it in your structure. You go up to the part where you add all properties, but you go down to newsletter details. In newsletter details, for some of you who've been working here for a time or a long time, it looks the same as the old one. You do the following: 1, 2, 3, 4. You do add one of your recipient lists. You will get the list of everyone here, but you will add your own. You add Afghanistan. You go down and you remove any recipients or anything you want. If you want, you can do a test. You can do this and send a test letter. It will send test report, email sent, and you will get an email in your inbox. If you do not receive an email in your inbox, wait a minute or 3 or 5 or 10. The system goes on a clock. So if you just miss it by a couple of seconds, it can take up to 10-15 minutes before it goes again. So sometimes you can rely on the next run, but in this case it says the next run is in half an hour. We also use an external system, so we send the information to that external system, and the external system provides the further distribution for us. But when you're done, you just click send newsletter. And just remember, in a lot of cases there's a lot of emails. For example, I think it is United States. I think they have about 12 or 14,000, 12,000 recipients. And they will not receive the email at the same time. They will probably receive the email during maybe within 12 hours at worst, within a couple hours at best. So this small thing is the last defense. When you press this green button, you will send your first newsletter. Please do not do so lightly. Control your information, and if you have any questions, ask them before you publish or send out your first newsletter. But that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're done.